this discussion, but I did send those out just a few moments ago.
Okay.
So
I'll
if
be
you're
on the
wanting
lookout.
to, you could poke around at the same time that we're looking as well. So yeah, so my name is Bill Olson. I'm part of the web support team. I come in kind of at the end of a project to help with the training here, and then even more so the support after a site's been launched. I'm kind of your contact for you know, additional changes or questions if needed. I believe you've been dealing with Jessica or Brian, maybe both of them up till now.
Correct.
But yeah, so we have your development site. Hopefully, are you seeing my screen?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Yep. So this is your new website. I assume you have this domain. So this is kind of what we have now. And what I'm going to do is just walk through the highlights, kind of the areas that seem most pertinent. Do you have previous WordPress experience, or have you worked on the site already?
No, I have not. I don't have any WordPress experience. I mean, I know WordPress is kind of the I don't want to say default, but kind of the one that that a lot of people use for website development, but I don't have any direct experience.
Oh yeah, not a problem. It works a lot like any other one. It's just you know, kind of easy way to edit and manage a website. Yeah, some of these things are pretty you know, WordPress kind of universal, and then we've set up some kind of custom things for your particular website as well. So I guess just starting with the admin panel. So once you do get that invite, you'll log in and you'll see something a lot like this. The admin link is pretty much this, your domain /wp-admin. So anytime you need to get to the login page, it'll be that. Of course, when it's live, it'll be, I'm guessing, transplan.com /wp-admin.
Okay.
And you log in, and here's your new dashboard. Yours will look similar to this. I probably have a few more options, as I guess you could call me a super admin. Essentially, we kind of give access to as many things that we think are needed. So nothing it gets broken or it's just overwhelming. So you'll have things like posts and media. That's the media library, forms, pages, our public meetings, the publications. And those are kind of the big things that we'll be actually going through today. But again,
Actually, Bill, if you could
Mhm.
explain the difference between media, forms, pages, publications.
Oh,
'Cause I
absolutely.
guess,
I'm gonna go to
oh,
each one of these. So
okay, I'll wait. Okay.
yeah, it's just kind of an overview. I just wanted to point out those are kind of the areas that you'll probably be working in and that you'll see when you log in. Like I have a few things that you probably won't see, like this blocks and Ajax things.
Understood.
Yeah, essentially this is the dashboard. There's usually some kind of alerts or messages. You can generally dismiss these. They just take up room. So I think a good place to start is the different pages that you have. And there's really kind of two ways to go through editing a page. One would be to go to the dashboard and go to all pages, or you'll see an option to create a new page as well. But if you go to all pages, as you'd expect, you get a list of the various pages, documents, home, meetings, etc. But another good way to navigate and make edits is just pull up in another browser window that same your website. And then when you're logged in, you'll have this nice little edit bar at the top of your screen. So I just go to the page I want to edit and then just hit that option. That's just my personal preference. Generally, there's several ways to do the exact same thing within WordPress. But again, if you need to find a page, all pages, or just navigate to it while you're logged in. So like, for instance, there's our documents page, our about page, helpful links. I could jump right into editing, you know, through this link here.
Bill, can you go back to the other tab, the WordPress tab on the
Oh yeah, so this is the dashboard.
Okay, so WP. Okay, the dashboard. Okay, I just want to clarify. Okay, that's the dashboard. You go to it's the website link /wp-admin. Okay, that's good.
Exactly. You'll get this link in that email invite. Make sure to check your spam, and if there's an issue, I can essentially set your password from my end, but ideally, hopefully you're getting these type of notifications, like that invite that was sent. But yeah, it's your domain, the WP admin, WP/admin, or
Okay.
-admin, sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and that'll get you to something that looks a lot like this. And this is where you'll make your edits. And then, as I said, when you are logged in and just looking at your website, you'll see this little bar at the top with some different options, most of which you can kind of ignore, but the edit page is definitely just, it's kind of a shortcut, just saves you from having to go, go into pages, go find that particular page. I mean, it's fine to do it that way too, but it's my own personal preference.
Okay.
When you want to edit a
I
page,
gotcha.
yeah, just make sure you're logged in. So,
Okay.
so yeah, starting with the home page, it's a little different than some of the other pages, and I'll show you kind of how it's different. But if you just look at the front end here, you have this nice, banner image, little messaging here, and then some different, looks like, projects. I'm not sure if these are. It looks like these are maybe kind of placeholders at the moment. But there's a little description and then an option for a link. So that's what it looks like on the front end. So I want to show you how those are edited on the back end. So kind of like we were talking about, I'm just going to hit this edit page. And here's another little tip I would say is I kind of like to have the page open in one browser window and then the back end editing in the other. This kind of helps make sense of what kind of what you're working on, because you'll see as I just pulled this up, this is what it looks like on the back end, which makes sense enough, but it's kind of nice to see how it translates to the actual front end of your website.
Understood. Yeah, that's actually a good idea. I have both up. So
Yeah, so yeah, it's just kind of it's a tip, and just a preference. But if you look at this homepage, that first bit of content here, I'm assuming this came from you folks and is what's probably going to stay here. But if you ever want to edit it, kind of just like Microsoft Word or any real editor, you have this copy here, and you have options like bold, and if I want to add a link, I have that option as well. And there's actually a lot of different options here, and I'm going to go into those a little bit later. But just for the purposes of the home page, just know that if you need to make an edit, right at the top of the page here, pretty easy to do. Works kind of like any text editor. And then a little bit different is a lot of the page is actually updated through these custom fields.
okay.
So when I say custom fields, so instead of like having to deal with a lot of like design elements and moving things around and what goes where and should the font look like this, we use these nice kind of streamlined options to make edits. So for instance, this is the same slide that we just saw up here. If you just wait a moment, you see it kind of go through advocating for the future, advocating for the future. There's that copy, there's that image, and then here's that same link. So pretty much every one of these has an image, some copy, and then a link. So I'm assuming it looks like some of these are a little bit generic and there's no link set yet. So it's probably good you know about this area, and that if I want to change that image, for instance, I just remove the existing one, I hit add new image, and now I can either choose one from our media library, which I'll go into here in a little bit, or I can upload a new image as well. So again, just adding image, adding the copy. Then if I go into this little edit area for the actual button link, this is where I would put that, put whatever that link is there. At the same time, there is this link text. So if we go back here, take action, get involved. And you probably noticed too, there's a little break in this, and that it's not trying to run across one line. There is a little bit of what's called HTML. It's a little bit of coding, kind of at the most basic level. And this is probably a good one to know about, because there are times where it's just when you're adding website content, you need to add a break. So either come back to this or just make a note, but this is a good thing to know about, the BR.
Okay, like a page break kind of thing.
Yeah, because just sometimes design-wise, things look better. You don't want like one word hanging out at the end of a, of a paragraph necessarily. Sometimes it's nice just to break things up like it's done here. Otherwise,
Okay.
this might end up like 3 words up top and the one below. I mean, that's a
Okay,
little
yeah.
bit in the weeds, but I just want to point it out because it is here. So yeah, the URL, that link text. And then another option to keep in mind is there's open link in new tab. Generally, you probably would not use this, like if you're linking to a page within your website. But if you're linking externally, you don't really want folks like leaving your website
Okay.
and not coming back. So just make sure that maybe just keep this in mind. Open link in new tab. So it'll keep your website in one tab, and then that link will open up in another. That way they can just come right back to where they were. So those are kind of your options, and this is somewhat universal. Anytime you're adding a link, just kind of keep this same little thing in mind, and that it'll look just like this: URL, that link text, and then whether you do or do not want to open up in a new tab. And regarding the URL, you can certainly type whatever you want, but there is also this nice little search feature with your most recent pages. So if I knew I wanted to link from that particular button to a project page, it's right here. So I just would click that. It just fills that in right for me. So I don't have to type it all out necessarily.
Okay. Again,
It's
that's
an
a good
existing
function.
page within the website. So you don't have a lot of pages, so it's pretty easy to find things. But if I knew I wanted to add a link to the meetings and agendas, I just use the search. There it is. Adds the link for me. So just a matter of convenience, which is nice. And again, you'll kind of see this other places too when you're adding links, which is obviously pretty common thing to do on a website. So yeah, URL, text, new tab, and then this nice little search feature is available. And below this is pretty much just the other 3 slides. Generally, you don't want to go like with more than maybe 3 slides. I mean, you might maybe add another one if you needed to. You do have the option. So each one of these you can see it's just repeating. It's what we call a repeater. Right next to that, you can see this remove row. So if there's one of these I no longer needed, I would just remove that. Or
Actually,
add
Bill,
a new slide.
does that remove the whole slide and the slide
The whole
image?
thing.
The whole thing. Okay.
Yep, the whole I guess you can consider these blocks or
Yeah, the whole.
rows.
Okay.
And you saw what I did earlier. I removed an existing image. So any of these images can be changed out, replaced. Same with the copy. So if you're adding a new slide and removing another one, you don't really need to delete. You can just kind of redo what's there.
Okay.
Again, these are all the same going down. Just know that you can remove them and add more as you need to. I'm going to leave what's there. I'm just not going to save what I just did. But like, for instance, if I just refresh the page, and I guess I may as well point this out now as well. If you want to undo something, there is this little undo option. That's, for instance, I just accidentally had a typo. I'm going to go into this a little bit more too, kind of more towards the end as far as the text editor and the blocks editor. But you have this nice undo option right here.
Okay.
So undo I just did. I believe Command Z, just like a lot of programs, works the same way. And while we're on the subject, I should also point out in this right column, we do have something called revisions. This definitely could come up. You make a mistake, let's say, or just want to go back. We can go back in time to all the different versions of the same page.
Okay,
it's a little confusing. Yeah, a little confusing when you look at actually what shows up here, but just I guess the short version is green means it was added, red means it was removed. But But if you just know that what I had yesterday is what I want, you can just, just go back to that and then restore that particular version.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know, because actually that one, if I go like a few hours, like, oh man, I made a major error, it's good to be able to like, all right, go back to yesterday's version and it should be good. So this is good to know.
Yeah, so exactly. You have the undo, while you're working on it, and that goes in levels. You can go back step by step, but then you also have the, revisions as well. So we looked at the banners, and then in this next tab here, we have our, we're calling it image repeater. This is essentially this. We have this image with a little bit of copy, and in this case, we have a link and kind of a little hover effect. So you kind of have an option with what you want to do as far as how these display. This would probably be the more common thing, I think, that you'd want to link. I mean, you certainly could just have an image with a nice title. And this is just kind of placeholder copy, it looks like. I mean, it definitely looks like your images, but obviously these don't go anywhere at the moment. But when the time comes, it'll probably look something more like this, and to make those edits pretty straightforward. And here's the image, here's the heading, there's that content that you saw on like the hover on this particular one.
Okay.
In this case, there actually is nothing here, so that's why it's not really doing that. And then lastly, selecting the link. So the link is what would bring up this little learn more arrow here.
Okay.
This is probably your best example. So if we actually just go down a little bit, here's that one that actually has that little hover, information, and then the actual link. In this case, the link is, I hit edit. Isn't really going anywhere, but this is where you would put it. And just like we saw before, you can either link to an existing page or, externally, wherever you want to go. Works the same way as what we just looked at. So you're probably seeing some kind of familiar patterns here, and this is kind of why it just kind of simplifies things. Image, that copy, and then in this case we have a little bit extra with the content, and that content, on the home page here is what shows up here, and then there's that link.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. And
then lastly is our footer tab, and probably not an area that you would even necessarily need to edit, but if there was a change needed.
There's several changes you need to make in there. So
okay. Yeah. Well, hopefully they're editable. Not every part of this footer is probably going to be, able to change.
Well, I think it's just the information, like the phone number, and it's an 8-digit phone number.
Oh yeah,
and
there's
email address.
The wrong phone number there.
Yeah, right, so things like that. And even the spelling of trans.
So it's definitely good. It's there. So really easy. You just delete that.
And if
there's that email, there's the phone, there's the address, and again, here's that little BR that we talked about.
Okay, the break. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it looks a little better.
And you see it below, it says copyright 2022, and then transplant spelled incorrectly. Could that be edited?
Boy, yeah. Apologies there. I think that's something we would have to do on the back end.
On your end? Okay.
Yeah, because I'm not seeing that as an editable field. We kind of add the fields that are most likely going to be edited, and don't have every one. Otherwise, it might just get a little overwhelming. But obviously, I'm going to make a note about fixing that on our end.
Okay, thank you.
And
the other one I noticed as well, see it says subscribe to hear about transportation, and there's 2 dots. Like, could that be fixed in the
I think that's one of those areas that we're gonna have to edit. And then poking around earlier, I think this actually still needs a little bit of work.
Okay.
And that we need to set up the for lack of a better term, settings for where this goes. I mean, you can see I could input, and this is what it's gonna look like. But currently, as of now, I don't think it's actually set up to go to anyone or respond. So yeah, as close as we are on this site, there's obviously a few things here that need to be ironed out before you go live, and that's definitely something I could help you with as far as after this call, if you want to maybe just email me
Okay,
with any changes that you see that you know need to be done. I
For-
can make sure those get done.
for this banner right here, for the subscribe to hear about transportation.
Yeah,
and
so
also
like
the
for
box.
instance, this footer, I'm making a note as well, but you know, probably be a good idea to get a email chain going, or
Okay,
just have in writing in case there's, you know, in case we end up with a longer list too, just to make sure that we're taking care of those for you.
okay,
But yeah, obviously the footer and then this little newsletter sign up we need to change, and then you said you wanted to. Obviously, we don't need the two dots there, so that's easy enough to do. That's like a change we'll have done in, you know, in an hour on our end. Not that it
okay,
would take that long. Just as far as turnaround, we could definitely get these things finished quickly for you, because I see you are close with the website, and we'll make sure we get everything done on our end that we can. And I'm assuming part of this training is so you can kind of jump in and kind of add some things yourself, like maybe whatever these are going to be. And I'm glad to help with you know, content as well along the way. But I think part of the training, yeah, is just showing you and John how to make these edits as well. So
okay.
don't hesitate to reach out for any changes you're not really seeing as available, or you just need help with. Glad to do that.
Okay, appreciate that. So,
Yeah. So yep, the banner, what we call the image text repeater, for lack of better verbiage, but I think you get the idea. Pretty much all these different areas here, the slider, this copy, these images, and then this footer content, or majority of it is editable. It looks like maybe we need to add the Facebook and Twitter links. I'm assuming you have those.
actually, I wonder, could you take those out, because we don't have a Facebook or a
Oh yeah,
Twitter.
actually I was going to ask that, because sometimes we put them in the design and not everyone uses them, and it's obviously no point in that. So I'm just making a note. And at some point you do want to add them, you know, you can certainly do that.
Okay, yeah, well, I'll have to follow up with you if we ever get to that level of sophistication with this website.
Yeah, with
I'll
that
reach out.
gone, you know, we might want to tweak this footer a little bit, because it, you know, just as far as balance, sometimes it's a
Okay.
little odd when you have a lot of things on one side and nothing on the other. I mean, it's just a design preference, but
No, I
it's
would agree
something
with you.
it's something to consider. Like maybe at some point we just spread this out a little bit more, if that's
Yeah,
gone.
I'd agree with you. So,
But we can certainly, you know, cross that bridge as we come to it. But yeah, I
okay.
made a note on that. So yeah, the homepage, again, it's kind of edited mostly within these different fields, but at the same time, that top area is edited within kind of what we call the page builder. I'll go into that in a little more detail here shortly. There's a little bit of depth there, believe it or not, as far as these page builder elements. But homepage, definitely a good place to start. And I'm gonna kind of move on, unless there's anything else you wanted to look at regarding the homepage. I'll show you these other links as well.
Okay, I was gonna say, well, actually, with the homepage, I guess those links at the top were gonna be on every page. So how
Yeah.
could those be
Oh,
edited if possible, if needed?
excellent segue. So yeah, the next thing to look at here is the navigation edits. And this
Okay,
is probably going to be set for you, but if you need to jump in and make these edits, and I'll have to make sure these are available to you as an editor, but they should be. You should have this appearance area within the dashboard.
hmm
It's what we call a flyout menu. And within that, you should see menus. If you don't, I can make sure that that's added and you do see those.
okay,
And this is what you see. These are your different menus. So you have a top menu and then the footer social media menu, which we just discussed. But starting at the top menu.
actually, one thing, Bill, before you
uh,
move on, it says top menu and there's a drop down menu. What does that do? Just out of curiosity.
oh,
Oh, so
sorry.
select the
So,
menu to edit. Oh, okay. So
oh
there's
yeah. So just
other.
pick the one you want to edit. So like for instance, the social media,
Oh, I see. I see.
it's actually called a menu. So this is actually what we were just looking at. These are where we would make those edits.
I guess you could remove them if we
Yeah,
said.
we can do that right now. We can remove those.
Oh, okay, so that's what it
And
does.
then,
It's select menu.
then just make sure to save
Okay, okay.
any changes. Sometimes
That's
it's
the one
easy
I
to just
probably,
think you made them, and then just make sure you save it.
that's something I do. Like, I like, how come it didn't change? Oh, there's a save. Yeah, click on the save button.
So now I'm back at the home page, refreshing it, and those should be gone. Oh yeah, so it did something a little odd. It added all these ones here, so I'll look into that.
Okay.
I think I broke the design a little bit when I removed those.
Yeah, that's,
Although
I can imagine.
this isn't the worst idea. Some people actually do put footer links as well, but we can definitely
Okay.
come back to that.
Yeah, no worries about quote unquote breaking it. Yeah, I know. I
Yeah,
realize that does happen. Like, oh wait, there's some other
yeah, you
things that
remove
are missing.
something that's like an
Yeah,
element. Sometimes you end up
some other
moving
elements.
things around. So
Yeah.
yeah, in this case, when we remove those social media icons, which we just discussed removing, this actually appeared. So that's interesting. But we can come back to that.
Okay.
But going back to that top menu, this is where you would make those edits. So we have our about, our documents, our helpful links, and then contact. So that's actually these items here.
Yeah.
I think these actually would have to be edited on our end. I think maybe they're part of the template. So if you did want to change these for some reason, I think you'd have to ask us too, or we can make them editable, but more than likely it's probably an area that's going to be the same. Projects and meetings.
I
It's
think
probably,
if I recall correctly, Bill, at the meeting I had with Jessica, and I forgot I forgot the other Brian's.
Brian, yeah.
Yeah, like we did mention meetings and agendas, making that more prominent on this page, because I think that's the primary reason why anyone would go to this page is to
Okay, well,
access them.
more than this. This seems pretty prominent, but obviously, if you want to put other places,
I think it might actually. I think that's fine as
maybe what they even
locate.
did after the fact. Sorry, I wasn't part of the earlier discussion, so
Yeah,
it's
no
a little hard
worries.
for me to say for sure, but I can make a note.
And maybe
as far as that.
it might be below, like, below the image here that keeps changing, something about next,
Like
next meeting or meeting agenda or something.
okay, yeah, I could see that. There's kind of a little bit of space there, so that might be a good spot for something like that.
Yeah, just to give it prominent. I mean, like I said, that's where most people, I guess
Right.
anybody who reasonably would go to this website is going to access the meeting agenda. So
That's kind of one of the main things. Sure, got it.
yeah.
Yeah, I did chat with Jessica briefly before this, and we were definitely planning on following up together afterwards with any of your feedback. So that's actually one thing I'll make a note of. But if
Okay.
possible, and you don't mind, maybe if you want to send me an email as well, just to make sure I don't miss anything, and just kind of get the discussion going. But I have notes about the footer, which should we just need to go back into, and then the meeting prominence,
Okay. Okay.
and then obviously that misspelling and that little tweak there in the footer also. But yeah, so back to the navigation. Adding names out at all. This is where I would do that. If I want to add an item over on the left side here, it kind of shows your most recent items. So if I wanted to add I think we kind of have everything we need there. But for instance, yeah, I think we have everything there. So if I wanted to add, let's just say, well, page builder, which I'll go into later. This is just a generic page, but just for sake of example, all I do is check it and then hit this add to menu. And there it goes. It appears up, and you can drag and drop these as far as the order they go in.
Okay.
You can also create sub menu items, like you see when it's indented like that. I don't know that your site was necessarily designed or built for that. If I just let's save that real quick, we'll undo this in a moment. Just double check this. Refresh the page.
Did you save it on
I think
this
so.
end?
It's probably just taking a moment to load. Sometimes there's a cache that kind of loads
Okay.
the previous things. And like I said,
Yeah.
I don't think your site or the design was actually built to have sub items.
Yeah.
You kind of have all this room up here. Actually, if you did need to add another link, that wouldn't really be a problem.
Yeah, I don't think
So,
we'll need, ultimately we won't
yeah,
need.
so I don't think it really applies here as far as like sub items. But again, just drag and drop these in the places that you want to put them.
Okay.
You know, remove that one. Resave it. There is worth pointing out, we have this thing called custom links. So if it's not an existing page, for some reason, maybe you wanted to link to an external, web page, you could actually do a custom URL with that link text and then just add that to the menu.
Oh, okay, that's good to know. That's yeah.
Yeah, if you were adding something like that. So that's just an option. And that's really it for the navigation. Again, you may not see that when you log in as an admin. Let me know if you don't, and I'll make sure it's added. Because,
Okay.
like I said before, we kind of have limited areas that we give access to, by default. But we can always customize that if
Okay.
there are areas that you're needing, access to. So yeah, that's the navigation. And then I think maybe just dive into some of the different pages, if that sounds good to you. So starting with like the about page, this might be an area you could be making edits. So here we
Yeah,
have our mission. We have some different documents.
as you can see above, the roster definitely needs to be updated.
Yeah, so yeah, some edits here. But this is visually, here are different links going out, I'm assuming. Some documents with this little icons. So see, this is a PDF. This is an external link. Again, this is a nice way to deal with this. So I just open that edit page in a new tab. And here's what it looks like under the, as a page builder.
Okay.
So if I wanted to make an edit, and as you would expect, again, a lot like anything like Word or any text editor, you kind of have these different options as far as bolding and alignment. I'll go into some of these now. So this is what is called a header. So the headers obviously looks like this. It's got this, blue. It's that particular size. So it's definitely good to stay consistent. So these are all using H2. It's header 2.
Okay, so you click on H2 to create a header or to.
Yeah, so H1 would obviously look, well, a lot different. So H1's typically bigger, and then H3 would be smaller. Generally don't need to get too far into that, and that pretty much H2 is probably the one you're going to be using here.
Okay.
Let's just say you wanted to add a new section to this particular page. Pretty easy to do. So if I just hit return, or if I hover,
Okay.
you have this add block option pops up.
Okay.
So like I said, return works too. So if I just said, this is a new section, let's just pretend. Started as a paragraph, but easy enough. I just turn it into a heading. So if I have all these options, this little option bar right here, hit heading.
Transform the heading, and then the
becomes a
H2
heading.
pops up. Okay.
Yeah, I hit return again. Now I'm into my next block. So blocks, as you would expect, is pretty much one item on top of another.
I guess a couple questions, and you might go into this. Like, actually, first with a header, the kind of example header. What happens if you click H2 above? Does that change anything? Okay, change heading. So that's how you change to H2, H1.
Yeah, so when I hit
H3.
that, actually, it shows me the other header options.
Oh, okay.
Essentially, it's just different design. If I went to H3, it's going to look a little different.
Okay.
And while we're starting to edit a little bit, like this is also good to know about. There's this little preview option, so you can see, what's happening before you actually save it.
Okay.
You'll see that little header I created is a little smaller as the H3.
Yeah.
And again, consistency is a good thing here. So I would kind of just follow the same format that's been used. So,
Okay.
H2 paragraph. That's probably the most common, content block you would be using is headers and paragraphs. And of course, as we go down a little bit, we see some other examples, such as, I believe this is a table of some sort.
I do have,
And
Bill, I do have a question before you move forward, just before I forget. If you go back to the editor, see below it says type or choose to choose. Okay, so this types text. Okay, I wasn't sure if that, because it says type to choose a block. I wasn't sure if it would, if you click on it, it would open it would create a new block, but no, it just creates text. Okay.
exactly.
Okay,
So you kind of have that option. Like if I wanted to add something else at this point, I guess it's as good as time as any to kind of at least touch in it a little bit. We have a lot of different blocks we can use here. That's why I point out header and paragraph is the most common, but obviously adding images. For instance, if I hit add image, well, this is an image block. And with that image block, I could either select from our media library, which I'll show you here also in a moment.
Okay.
If I had an existing image there, or I can just upload from my computer. And I think we are kind of a little bit limited on time, so I think I'm gonna have to like jump through some of these kind of quick.
That's
You
fine.
said you had a meeting at 1, correct?
Yeah, unfortunately,
I'm gonna be jumping back and forth a little bit. Just stop me if you need to. But while we're at it, let's look at the media library.
Okay.
So you saw I could add it from this block here, but also within the dashboard, we have our media library here. So I could add it or review the library at any point. So if I go to the library from the dashboard, you kind of have just a different view of the same thing that we just saw before.
Okay, yeah.
This is kind of like the big overview of it all.
And then
so within this, all of our images, our search options.
And above this says add new, so that's where you could upload images.
Yeah, exactly. You want to add new images. So before you even edit a page, let's just say you knew you were going to be adding a bunch of images, I guess, or documents would work the same way. You could add them here. I don't see it as being done yet, but I would highly recommend using these nice folders. So like, for instance, if I wanted to create a documents folder, I have that option as far as organizing. So if I want to add, it's just going to make finding things easier later on.
Makes
so like
sense.
Another good one would be like meeting agendas.
Okay.
That's a common one I see used a lot. Even within that, as a sub menu, I could put 2021.
Actually, this is really good to know. Yeah, because that's going to be a big one. Like,
Yeah, especially to get agendas that they can kind of just, you can look at them all at once, but sometimes it's just nice to keep things organized.
Yeah.
So now that I've created these and I go to add new, so I'm just selecting a random thing from my desktop, lots of screenshots. Oh, my computer's just going a little bit slow. I'm gonna just cancel that. But also, as I'm looking at the unorganized files, for instance, I could drag and drop things to a folder.
Okay. Okay.
Or if I even open one of these items, let's see here. I think there's an option to put it into a folder. Yeah. So this is a media item, and so we have something like also important alternative text. It depends what kind of image you're adding, but for screen readers, for ADA purposes. So for instance, like this one really should have an alternative text. It should say, train next to freeway. I don't know, something somewhat descriptive, not super verbose, but something a screen reader would understand. So alternative text is definitely an important part of the media library. Also, a good thing to note is the link. So if this were a document or I just want to share this image, here's a file link to it. So let's just, for instance, say I shared that, I copied and pasted it.
Okay.
Real easy. Not necessarily something you'd use, but good to make note of. Also, something of use, I don't know if you'll be using it or not, but we have this thing called indexed for library.
Mhm.
This is more applicable probably to a document. If I want to add something to that documents page, that we're going to look at that next, I think. You can actually add things from the media library by clicking this checkbox, selecting a category. And if I were to save it like this, it's actually going to show up on this documents page. So I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but with limited time, I think
Okay.
I'm going to kind of have to. So for instance, I think this image
I
was
see.
actually tagged 5712. So if I go look at that particular image, so there's that
I
one, and I
see.
go to
Okay.
edit it.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see it's actually been indexed for the library. I think
Oh,
we've
okay.
obviously just done for, as an example, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way to add things to that documents page.
Oh, okay, that's good. Okay, this is a good one to know.
Yeah, and the categories are obviously generic, but those are, we could actually add and edit these categories.
And that's where you
The
can edit
names.
it. Bill, is that where you can edit it, and say images, meeting agenda, or like project, I guess.
Well,
You could,
there's definitely some things here as far as like keywords, publication, release date. So if it was an agenda, you probably want to, keep that in mind. The release date. The meetings and agenda are also handled actually a little bit differently.
okay.
But at the same time, you would have these same options. So I'm jumping around a little bit here, but just since you brought it up, if we go to the meetings, I think that's kind of it for the media library for today's purposes.
Okay.
So you have your alt text, you have that indexing option. You can copy that link. Keeping the folders organized, all important. So these are your actual meetings. So if we go to our meetings page, meetings and agendas, actually don't have anything current, so we're gonna be adding. I looked earlier, and I think we had something in June or July. I just want to show you what this looks like.
Okay.
I think it was July. Oh, I think it was 2021. So actually, while we're looking at this, so I'm at the meetings and agenda. We have all these nice sort options. So somebody did want to go back in time and find an agenda. So here we are at the July 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the different agendas, that meetings that happened. We have our title, we have our meeting packet, we have this option to add to a calendar. We have a location.
Which
We're
our
looking at
meetings?
past meetings now, obviously.
Okay, as I say, I wish our meetings took place there instead of where we currently have them.
Right?
So.
Yeah, that'd be nice. So that's what they look like on the front end of it, on the meetings page. But if I go back, here I am in the dashboard again. Here's one of those examples. So if I go to edit, and again, we have this add new option, and then our different meeting types if we want to edit that. So just to look at it real quick. It's like we don't have meeting types set up yet. Do you only have the one meeting type?
Oh, we have two, because we're gonna have,
We
or
have
maybe two, at least two, maybe.
Okay. So yeah, at some point, we'd probably be adding the different categories here, so people could sort and view, that way.
Okay.
But for our purposes today, it's like we just set up a basic meeting. If I go to edit, it's going to look the same for add new. So we have our meeting date using this picker. There's the time. There's the date. This is that July meeting. And end time if you're using it.
Can we put that to nothing? Can we
We
clear
could
that
remove
out?
it. A lot of folks actually do not use that. I would
Yeah,
say.
because I
Just have
don't
the
want to
start
put.
time.
Okay.
After you post it, if it's canceled, there's this nice little checkbox option.
Okay.
So it essentially, if I just update that, and I go back to these meetings, I think I have to double check this one. You should be seeing like a canceled option. This is July 31st. Could also just be a cache issue.
Yeah.
So I'm actually may have to double check on this. You should be seeing essentially a canceled flag that would show up on this when a meeting's canceled. So actually, I want to make a note on that.
Okay.
But I think you get the idea. So if a meeting's canceled, you would just click that checkbox. Here's our locations. So looks like we have whether it's online or boardroom. If it is online, we have this virtual meeting link option.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay.
The contact name, contact info. It's not being used here, but you can add it.
Can I see a preview of the page just so I could see how it shows up?
Sure.
Okay, so it's like that. Okay, but then below would be a contact, say my contact information below boardroom.
Yeah, it just looks like we just don't have that input into the field.
Okay, okay.
So yeah, really good thing once you have that access, you just kind of jump in and play around.
Okay.
With the different options there. So back to the meeting, the summary. So again, we're not using this, but you could put some sort of summary if you were needing to do that. Also very important though, related documents. So this is where we're actually putting the agenda packets.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, this is
or if it was a link somewhere, I'm guessing like if it was a Zoom link, I think, or oh no, I'm sorry. If it was like just some reason external to your website, I've seen other agencies do this where their agendas kind of live somewhere else sometimes. But
and actually with that, so okay, so you delete that. Okay, add file. Okay.
Yeah, so that from there I could, I would probably just upload it, put it in that correct folder.
Okay.
Select it. That's how you add your agenda items.
I see.
Supplemental items. So if I hit this add new row, so any kind of supplemental item 2. Let's spell that. Add that file or link if it was a link.
Okay. Oh, that's good to know because yeah, sometimes I might.
Yeah.
Connect.
If you do recordings, there's the presentation link.
Okay.
Or file if you're going directly to a file. The minutes. Again, you can have the file or a link option. It's like ordinances or audio files. A lot of options here. I'm not using them in this example, but they're certainly available if you do need to add them. They kind of work as you would expect. They would just show up, in the same area when folks go to the meeting details.
Actually, I guess I have a question with that, Bill, because that actually is a good one. I didn't think about minutes. That would be good to add, and I'm curious how this works because I guess it'd be nice to have a link to minutes, but I wouldn't want it in the it would be in like kind of archives because it'd be minutes for a previous meeting. So and maybe actually maybe if you click on the tab, the meetings and agendas tab above, like I guess I'm just curious where the minutes would show up. I guess that's my question.
I think they would all kind of live in the same.
They're on the same page, I guess.
Same.
Oh, okay. Then there's no difference. Okay. Oh, I see.
Yeah. In this case, we're looking at past agendas, so I mean,
yeah.
It kind of makes sense enough to have it here.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
I mean, if you we're not wanting it for what was current or coming up, you could just, I guess hold off on adding it.
Yeah, leave it blank. Okay, I guess it makes sense. I guess, and my apologies because I'm thinking about other websites because one of the other, like South County has recently done a website update too. So sorry, I'm actually thinking about their meetings and agenda page.
Oh, no
they have it, an existing, current or the upcoming meeting, and then below they have like an archive. And I was thinking this.
Yeah. So in our case, we're essentially using these sorting features.
Yeah.
Obviously,
okay.
The first thing we'll load is current, which unfortunately, we don't have any current meetings to show you, but it would look the same. And then, the option to go back and look at previous meetings, recordings, minutes, whatever you wanted to, add that's available here.
Okay.
Yeah, I see time is running out here. So
I do have a
documents.
actually I do have a question before you. It's from way back. Actually, on the about page, you had there was a table. Yeah, this table. How do you create a table? Like you,
Okay. Yeah, we can
because
just
I'll
jump.
have to update that table. There's only 3 names. They're all the same. So curious
Yeah.
how that
So
gets.
again, it's just one of these editor blocks.
Hmm.
And if we go into the edit area, go down the page a little bit, and this all works the same. So when a page like this, you'll see there's kind of a few different blocks going on. So here's like
Uh-huh.
our documents block. I think technically it's called resource list. But again, if I hover over this
Oh, I see the table.
particular block here, we kind of get
Mhm.
these table options where I can just go right in and edit them.
Okay.
And they're styled by by default.
Okay. And I assume there's probably one of those options in the menu that's popped up right above. There's like add row, add column.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
I
add
get
row
it.
before, add row after, add
Okay.
column before, add after. So you definitely have those options here.
Okay.
And
And,
this is
I
a
guess
probably,
oh, go ahead,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was going to say, this is just probably a good example to come back to if you're looking for an example of a table.
Okay. And I guess
Um,
I'm curious, how do you create a new table? Say you
so
had
a lot like we added any other block. So
Mhm.
again, just hit this plus sign,
Oh, plus, and
and
then
I can either search for it.
oh, okay, table. Okay.
I think advanced table is what we use. Yeah, use the most frequently. It just adds a little bit of kind of styling. Give
And
you some additional options.
sorry, totally forget. It's like my mind. So oh, you just press the plus one. Okay, a plus one.
Yeah,
I was
so
wondering
you
how
have
you bring it
search,
up.
and then you can actually browse through all of these. So, I mean, honestly, I could spend an hour going through just a handful of these. But the thing to know is you have these blocks available,
Okay. Okay.
and so here's our paragraph. There's our heading. If we wanted a list, there's a normal table. Although again, I think you just make a note that advanced table is
Advanced
good.
table. Okay.
I want to add an image, create a gallery. And kind of on that note, I see we only have 5 minutes left. So you can set up an additional time too if you want to do that as
Yeah.
well. But
Yeah, and actually that's fine. And maybe I may want to have a follow-up meeting, but I'm thinking this, Bill. Why don't next week, because I'm actually off tomorrow,
uh-huh.
and next week, let me tinker with this website, try to and make the changes that we talked about today. And then maybe after that, possibly
Sure.
schedule something if I like there's more
Oh
I'd
yeah,
want to
absolutely.
know.
Happy to do that.
Yeah, because
Um,
you provided me a lot
mhm.
of information already, good information already. That okay, now I'm excited to like tinker with the existing
And that's the
website.
best way to do it. Just dive in and then kind of look at some existing examples and maybe create some test pages. So again, when adding new pages, also important to note that there's publish and draft. So I just added a new page. It starts as a draft. When I'm ready, I can go to hit that big publish
I'll publish.
option.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so draft is good. Also, another option available is I can duplicate a page, kind of play with a version of it without messing up the real one.
Yeah.
So that can be useful. Although then you might have to duplicate your work later. But also, I definitely want to point this out. We have something here called Page Builder. It's a page with all these different blocks. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them. So just for instance, just to show you what this looks like. I'm going to open up the page in another window. So again, these essentially it's called a page builder. So there's our title, there's our description, there's a list. Here we
Mhm.
have image next to text. Here we have a full size item. Here, we just have a lot of different examples here of different blocks and kind of how they look.
Oh, and you can
So
just
this is
use
a good page to kind of be aware of and then come back to if you need to.
okay.
I have a lot of tabs open here. So this is the page, page builder. Here we go, we're back. So yeah, so here's that resources list. If I say resource list, that's these documents.
Hmm.
Go down the page, here's that text with an image. Kind of see how that's built. And all of these, if you just kind of hover over it or you click, you're going to get some options. So like if I want to put that image to the right, I can put it to the, I can put it on either side. If I dive in and replace that image, I can do that here. This is a button block. And also important to note is any of these blocks, you will see kind of different options in this right column as well. Generally, you can kind of ignore them. Occasionally, there will be kind of things maybe you'd want to tweak.
Mhm.
But for the most part, all the styling and whatnot should be kind of preset.
Okay.
You can just kind of use what's there. When I say options, things like, let's see here. Here's a full width image, so I can go 50% across the screen, 100%. Every block is kind of have a different set of options, and it actually can be kind of overwhelming, especially trying to explain in 5 minutes. But just know that within a block, you're gonna have options kind of that pop up here, and then at the same time, look to the right. So you either have page options, so things like publish, your permalink URL, a featured image, which may or may not be used sometimes. Also something to keep in mind on any page, like if it were to show up in a search result, sometimes a featured image is what would show.
Okay.
You could set that there, but then here's those revisions we saw. Some different options there, but page and block options. So just keep those in mind as you're going editing, looking at different pages.
All right.
And there's a lot there, and that's kind of why this block editor page is good as far as different examples. But you'll also see examples on other pages as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
If I go to documents, again, we added this to the media library, but also if I go to edit the page, sorry, I know we have 1 minute left, but I do want to point this out because documents are important. Documents are actually also added through the dashboard under publications. If I go to publications, that's what's showing up on that page. So I can either publish to the documents page through publications here, or through the media library by indexing it with that checkbox.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I know I'm kind of blowing through that pretty fast, but that is what's showing up here. If you go to any of these,
I'll have to
yeah.
Okay, if I forget this part, yeah, we're going fast. I'll just rewatch this video, or I'll follow up with you.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, you can always come back to it through the video, and I'm glad to follow up. Next week or whenever it works for you. So it is 1 o'clock. I'm glad to go on, but it sounded like you have another meeting. So yeah, check it out. Look for that admin link. Hopefully you got it. It could be in the spam. Make sure if for some reason you don't get it, I can follow up and help get you access. But yeah, jump in, play around, and then just send me any questions. So
all right, Bill. Yeah, okay, I do see the TRANSPLAN login details. Okay. Yeah, Bill, thanks for all your help on this. I appreciate it. And yeah, I'm gonna play around with the website, and then I will follow up with you about possibly if we need to schedule a follow-up meeting.
Yeah, glad to do so. And yeah, any other changes that maybe you don't see how to make and that we can make, we'll get those done quick. So all right, well, it's good meeting you, and good luck on the website, and I'm sure we'll be in touch.
All right, yeah, thanks for the instruction, Bill. Really appreciate it. It's really helpful.
Yeah, sure thing. Have a good day.
All right, you too. Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye.